Is Nico right now the perfect prospect? He recruited heavily for Tennessee. He made an early decision for Tennessee. His ranking speaks for itself. He's a midterm guy. Everything we hear from Jacob and Coop is that he's a fine young man, respectful. Everything I hear off the record, and I would have been the one to tell you that Jeremy Pruitt wasn't going to work out, Butch Jones wasn't going to work out. People didn't want to hear that, but I knew it pretty early. I'm not saying Nico will work out, but off the record, I hear great stuff about Nico. I mean, to this point, he visits with the media. Is he kind of the perfect prospect to this point, Caleb?
Yeah, it's everything. I mean, his physical stature he was already had him created in a lab, like I've talked about for Josh Heupel's system. But then on top of that, you can't ask for anything better for how the recruitment has gone with him. I think that one of the big things is that even though you expect him to start by the end of September, I think I don't know yet. I don't know how that's going to play out, but I will say that I don't think Nico has just accepted the backup role. I've heard reports that it's not like he's going to transfer if he is Joe Milton's backup, but he's coming for the job, which is the mentality you want to have in a backup quarterback or in a newcomer. And so that's a big deal, which is, I mean, that's even something that's different from like what Arch Manning is doing or what Peyton Manning did. You know, Peyton wanted to redshirt when he came to Tennessee in 1994. He didn't want to start that first year. And Nico is the guy that says, no, I want to start this year. I may not win the job, but I'm going to try to win the job. And that is a huge positive for Tennessee, because even if he doesn't win the job, again, it's not like he's going to transfer because he lost the job, because Joe Milton's gone after this year anyway, and he's going to be in Josh Heupel's system. So he's fine. They're going to work out fine. But I think you do want that mentality from your freshman quarterback who's your future star.
I think he has the balance right now between desire, wanting the job, and being respectful of Joe Milton. So I don't think that he has to win it to be happy, but I don't think he's just going to throw in the towel and say, hey, that's a senior, I'll just wait. As a matter of fact, I'm not calling out any names, but I think that Tennessee had some quarterbacks fairly recently that did that expected to have a warm-up year, so to speak, and they would be able to then step in the starting role. I think you got to expect to start. But if you don't, I think he has the right mindset, again, from everybody I talked to, that he'll be fine with it. Travis says DraftKings has Joe Milton fourth on the Heisman list behind Penix. And
who was actually committed to Tennessee at one point.
Yeah. And listen, people on here think that I don't like Joe Milton. That is not the case. Okay. But I like Nico's upside. The fact that he showed up 6'6", I mean, he even grew an inch for his scholarship and for that NIL money. So it's like, I appreciate the cash so much, I'll grow an inch. How about that? But he's a solid 6'6", I'm told. So, listen, if I'm Joe Milton, I'm uber motivated. I'm not struggling for motivation right now, Caleb, for two reasons. One, I see what happened with Anthony Richardson. He could do that, and he's bigger. And two, I got a guy named Nico that is going to push me. I think Joe Milton's in a perfect spot to dictate his future and his future earnings.
Yeah, this is actually all on him, and it's a question of mental toughness at that point. But you want to test your quarterback's mental toughness, because you need that on the field. Is Joe Milton going to rattle under this type of pressure, or is it going to make him perform better? And that'll tell us a lot about him. I think 2004. I will never forget. I've never ever forgotten this. When Eric Ainge and Brent Schaefer both committed to Tennessee, I know that they were high on Brian Brom, and Brian Brom was high on them. And I have always suspected Brian Brom committed to Louisville because he was scared of competing with Ainge and Schaefer for a starting job. And that was the first telling sign to me that guy was never going to be an NFL quarterback at that point. Because
maybe he was scared of Brent Schaefer and a baseball bat. Well, he was not. I remember watching tape of him and Ainge, and he was not as good as Ainge.
Schaefer or Brom?
Sorry, Brom.
Oh, okay.
Well, Schaefer wasn't either.
No, he wasn't.
I mean, Schaefer was probably about 10 years early and some maturity points shy of having a real impact to his financial future. So I wanted to look at this Heisman list. Caleb Williams is a plus 500. That means it's basically a 5-1. Florida State quarterback Jordan Travis is plus 1,000. Drake May is a plus 1,200. Washington quarterback Michael Penix Jr. and Oregon quarterback Bo Nix plus 1,400. So Milton is at plus 1,800. Now listen, guys, on the message board, you play the no respect card a lot. I think that's really respectful to have a guy that's coming into his senior year that lost his job 2 years ago to be even in the conversation with. That's according to DraftKings. I think that's pretty respectful. You?
Oh, I absolutely do. I'm also trying to think of when was the last Heisman favorite, like season-long Heisman favorite, to actually win it? Was it Tim Tebow 07?
Maybe. Yeah, that's about the best I could do.
Yeah, because I feel like
never win it. You never win it in September. You don't even win it in October. I mean, that was the case this past year.
No, and as a matter of fact, a lot of times someone emerges out of nowhere in November to do it. I mean, RG3 and Andrew Luck, I remember Andrew Luck had outplayed RG3 the whole season, but RG3 had an amazing November with Baylor that last month, and that got him the Heisman.
Man, I'm thinking hard here, Caleb. I can't remember a guy that's led for the duration, other than Tebow. I mean, I don't know of another guy, and Tebow you thought was certainly going to win it because he played a backup role in a national championship the year before. But I mean, Joe Milton to be listed in the top 10 or even be listed at all, I think is great respect for Tennessee's program. Were you surprised to see him on there at all?
I wasn't surprised to see him on there at all, but I was surprised at like top 6 or top 5. I will say that's a little shocking. I think that part of these odds are they're partially based on what he did in the Orange Bowl, but they're also just partially based on faith in Heupel. I think we've seen enough where Heupel draws up plays. It's, for those who don't know the offense, it's insane to see how easy it is. If you're not actually watching the trips on the outside, you're shocked at how receivers are so easily open down the field and how they beat their man so easily. I mean, the offense is just designed for you to be able to hit at least like 3 deep balls for touchdowns a game. And that's if you don't have an accurate arm.
Wonder what kind of odds you could get. I mean, he's not going to win it as a freshman. What kind of odds could you get on Nico?
I don't know, but I wonder if there's futures odds you could get where you could bet on him in 2024.
Let's take a look at that, Caleb Calhoun, because Nico
Iamaleava
is just about to explode onto the scene.